Hi there, welcome to Expedited Category number 3, a presentation by Solutions IRB. My name is Cassidy Nosecable, and I'm pretty new to the IRB world too, so we're going to be learning this information together. Before we really dive into category number 3, let's talk about what expedited studies are. And if you've watched any of our previous videos on expedited studies, these next couple slides might look a little familiar. Expedited studies are studies where the research presents no more than minimal risk to subjects and involves only procedures listed in one of the 9 expedited categories. Again, today we're going to be focusing on category number 3 out of those 9. Now, one really important thing to note is that expedited does not mean fast in this case. Expedited instead just refers to the level of review that your study will be getting. That being said, here at Solutions IRB, we do get these done very quickly. Occasionally here at Solutions IRB, we get a little bit of confusion between exempt and expedited studies. So let's go over those. Exempt studies are listed as less than minimal risk and fit one of the 8 exempt categories, whereas expedited studies, like I just mentioned on the previous slide, are listed as not greater than minimal risk and fit one of the 9 expedited categories. So the big difference between those two is how closely they get to that level of minimal risk. Exempt studies are going to be less than minimal risk, well below that risk level, whereas expedited studies can be right at the level of minimal risk, they just cannot go above that. So just to give you some examples, an exempt study might be anonymous surveys, whereas an expedited study might be research on specific individuals or group characteristics and behavior. So there's a big difference between getting anonymous surveys from someone where you don't really know anything about the people you're getting your survey results from versus specifically doing surveys on a very specific group of individuals. So you can see that that level of risk changes between those two. Now again, the big difference between an exempt study and an expedited study is how close they get to that level of minimal risk. But what is minimal risk? Minimal risk means that the probability and magnitude of harm or discomfort anticipated in the research are not greater than those ordinarily encountered in daily life or during the performance of routine physical or psychological examinations or tests. To break that down into layman's terms, essentially it means that the risk for your participants in your study is not higher than the risks that they already encounter in their day-to-day lives. That is what minimal risk means. Now that we've got a better understanding of what expedited studies are, let's deep dive into expedited category number 3. Category number 3 is defined as prospective collection of biological specimens for research purposes by non-invasive means. Now, there are several examples of this, and we're going to go through each one. And remember, these are all ways that you will be collecting biological specimens. That's what all these examples are. So one example of a way to collect biological specimens that's non-invasive is collecting hair or nail clippings, as long as it's done in a non-disfiguring manner. You might be collecting deciduous teeth at the time of exfoliation, or if routine patient care indicates a need for extraction. Could be collecting permanent teeth if routine patient care indicates a need for extraction. Collecting excreta and external secretions, including sweat. Could be collecting uncannulated saliva collected either in an unstimulated fashion or stimulated by chewing gum base or wax or by applying a dilute citric solution to the tongue. Other examples of biological specimen collection that would fit under expedited category number 3 include placenta removed at delivery, amniotic fluid obtained at the time of rupture of the membrane prior to or during labor, supra and subgingival dental plaque and calculus, provided the collection procedure is not more invasive than routine prophylactic scaling of the teeth, and the process is accomplished in accordance with accepted prophylactic techniques. Mucosal and skin cells collected by buccal scraping or swab, skin swab or mouth washings, and sputum collected after saline mist nebulization. Every once in a while at Solutions IRB, we'll have an expedited study submitted that actually needs to go through a full board review. And there's several factors that can make an expedited study need to bump up to that full board level. In the case of category number 3, it could be collecting biomedical specimens through invasive means, through means that were outside of some of those examples. So let's say if you're collecting hair and nail clippings, maybe you're going to do it in a way that does leave your participants a little bit disfigured. That would then bump you from an expedited study to needing a full board review. Other reasons you might bump up to a full board review would be working with vulnerable populations. Let's say you are collecting hair and nail samples, but you want to do it with prisoners and other vulnerable populations. That might bump you up to a full board level as well. Remember, the important part of an expedited study is that you're staying at or below that level of minimal risk. So anything in your study that's going to put your participants at higher than minimal risk is also going to bump your study up to a higher review level. Thank you so much for listening today. For more information, feel free to visit our website at www.solutionsirb.com, or you can send us an email at correspondence@solutionsirb.com with any questions you might have.